Greetings, everyone. This is Michael L. Dublin Sr. Just want to follow up with a very simple and brief video on this past Sunday. This past Sunday, we spoke on in terms of God created mothers, and we looked back at the Genesis account that showed that God created women in His image, and the mother role that took place not only with Eve, but also for every woman. Now, every person that was present Sunday had everything in common, at least one thing in common, not everything. There had to be a woman in our lives for us to be born. So whether we experience life as mothers or whether we have mothers, whatever the situation is, if we're here, it's because somebody gave birth to us. And that made us common and have these common traits. That helps us to also understand that some of the difficulties of celebrating Mother's Day is that some things that work beautifully. You have these great examples, well, not a lot of great examples in the Bible, but you do have some. And mothers who were dedicated to God and who were faithful. You have some mothers who were not. And as a result of that, we can learn how to celebrate Mother's Day by celebrating the fact that people are still sinners saved by the grace of God. With that in mind, I mentioned to you that sometimes when we've not had a good relationship with our mothers, we can reframe the past. We can't change the past, but we can reframe it. In other words, all of us have a way of thinking about life. Everything we believe comes from somewhere. All of our moral, ethical views of how things should be, how people should treat us, all of that doesn't come natural. You have to learn that. And because you have to learn that, that is your framework. That's how you see, if you believe in sports, politics, philosophy, religion, Christianity, money, education, whatever you believe, that's your framework. So you see things through a particular framework, and that pattern of thinking can be changed, it can be challenged, and it can be reversed, or it may be that you're going to stick with it the rest of your life, no matter what. So when the Apostle Paul tells us to forget those things that are behind, and he presses on, and when he says that, it's not really saying that you just clear your mind of everything, because no human beings can do that. But the way you look at the past so that it does not master you is to go ahead and do the best you can to reframe it. So if you're having problems or had problems with anyone in your family, and today you're still carrying it around, you would want to consider the statement that I made that we can't change the past, but we can change it by reframing it. And here is what I'm saying. Look at the way that you think and the way that you think life should be, the way that you think everybody should be, the way you think your mother, brothers and sisters, anybody. How do you think, and what framed your thinking? What made you come to the point that those are the things that you believe? And the reframing means that if you have a negative viewpoint of anybody in your family, but particularly mothers, since we were talking about Mother's Day, but the principle is broader than that. You can set yourself free by reframing. You can't change the past, but as you mature and you begin to think broader, there are things in your life that you can change by saying, looking back, this is what happened. But there are facts that I don't have because I don't know how the other person's framework became the framework that it is. In other words, the person who let you down may not have let you down intentionally. They may have given you all that they have. We want our mothers to be always on top of things, and because they're mothers, they're so dear to us. But a lot of the mothers are teenage mothers, and they have had unexpected pregnancies, and they didn't want to have an abortion. So they brought you into the world ill prepared, and they themselves may not have had a family structure that taught them how to move forward in a way that encourages and strengthens the child as well as the entire family. Some families bring, they're ashamed of their child that is born out of wedlock. Others have, you're brought into this family where people, they got it together as far as their loving. They don't have much money, but whoever comes to the table, they are part of the family, and you can't get kicked out of these families. These are people who really give you the best that they have. There are other people who have higher education, they have more money, they have a different framework. But all people have to look back at some point in their lives and decide, how am I going to move forward? So one of the core teachings of Jesus is forgiveness. It's always about, how do I move forward? It really isn't about the other person, although it involves the other person. Forgiveness means that you want to start anew with them wherever you can and under the circumstances. It does not mean that what they have done will be forgotten. It's not. Now, in due season, over a period of time, it will not have the same place in your life, same place in your mind, because you're going on doing successful, positive things, and you don't have time to look back. But there are some awful things that have happened. If you decide to reframe, which is think back and learn as much as you can about your mother, about the people who wounded you in the past, and if you're willing to give them the benefit of the doubt, if you're willing, if they're still alive, you can have a conversation. And some conversations are very painful. But find out how they were raised, what happened to them, and how they became the person that they have become. Sometimes they don't want to do that. Sometimes the past is so painful that they just rather leave that alone. But that doesn't change the fact that you can say that if it's that painful to them, some things didn't go well. So how am I going to care for them, and how am I going to at least agape them, which is the love that wants the best for the person and is not going to do anything to stand in the way of that. So how do I get to that point where I'm part of a family? I love my mother. Now, personally, my mother has passed, and my mother, I loved her. But I honestly did not know how to express that to her because of her personality and because of the person she was. She was strong, she was a fighter, and she just never knew how not to fight. Well, when I look at her background and I look at how she was raised and the things she had to endure, I understand very clearly how she became who she was, as tough as it was. And I had to draw some lines. I know you don't like to talk about boundaries, but I had to. I could not handle a relationship where I loved my mother and not have boundaries. I had to say, I can't go there with you. I've got to step away. I've got to step back to give myself some time to rethink, and how am I going to move forward. I was my mother's pastor as well, so that was doubly difficult. Now, I had what I believe was a miraculous intervention. I dreamed one night that we were back in Central Florida. I was raised in Leesburg, Florida, and my mother was very protective of us. And I was walking down the street, and some guys were threatening me. And my mother came up, and she threatened them. That actually happened, and it changed the way people saw me. They didn't bother me because they knew my mother did not play those games. So if she said that she was going to do something to you, she actually meant it. And everybody knew that. Well, once I had that dream, it reframed and helped me to remember who my mother was, who she had become, and who she would be. All of those things happened to me. Now, I'm not saying you should rely on a dream, but you can sit and you can have thoughts about your mother, about people in the past, and you can decide that the way you see life isn't all there is. It's simply the way you see it. And there's a real possibility that somebody sees something different. So reframing has to be something you want to do. You hope the other person would want to do it. But if they don't, if you want to move ahead, you cannot hold a picture of a person that is self-defeating. You just can't. I had a document. I want to frame something and use that as a part of my illustration. And at the instance I'm thinking about, I don't know where I put it. But I had a picture and a frame, and I was just going to show you part of what that meant. But anyway, I messed up on that one. wherever that frame is. I'm recording now, so I'm not going to see if I can't find it. Oh my God. But anyway, the reality is this. Stop and think and have a conversation with yourself. Now, what I have used is Philippians 4. And when the scripture tells us to, whatever is true, whatsoever is noble, whatsoever is pure, then I have to ask, is that what's going on in my head? Are the situations that I have held on so tightly? And in Philippians 4, it said, rejoice in the Lord always. I say it again. Let your gentleness be evident to all. The Lord is near. And then in verse 8, where it says, finally, beloved, whatsoever is true, whatsoever is noble, whatsoever is right, whatsoever is pure, whatsoever is lovely, admirable, if anything is excellent, or praiseworthy, think about these things. To reframe it, then I started to ask, what is true about what I'm thinking? What is the real truth? Not what I suspect and not what I'm determined to believe, but what is the actual truth? You can never move forward in your life believing that everything you believe is true, because it is not. There are other people, and they all live differently than you. And sometimes, although you are what you see is true, it's not true to them. So you can't hold them accountable for the way you see things. It's incredible when you think about the way we break relationships with people simply because they don't believe what we believe. Not that they've done anything. They simply have arrived at this point in their life believing differently than you. So if it's true, according to what the Bible requires of us, reflect and think. There's a possibility that you have misframed it, that you have misunderstood it, that you've been unforgiving, unloving, and the way that person is stuck, that's all you'll see. You didn't get the facts about whether it's true or not. You didn't talk to anybody else. You just went along with what you see and how you see it. And if you do that, you will be forever out of place with people. You won't have many friends because you just simply what they call stuck in your ways. What that means is you have a framework. You have a way of thinking that if it's either your way or no way, and you're just not going to allow anybody to see that. And you and I are not God. We can't know all truth, and we can't impose that on other people, beloved. It is so critical to lighten your own load by deciding that whatever has happened in the past, where I can go and talk to my mother, where I can talk to another person, I want to go and listen. Everyone should be quick to listen and slow to speak. I would really, for once in my life, listen to somebody else, because over the years that I've been in here on this earth, they're fleeting. And I just don't want to continue to live this way where I'm blocking out my mother, blocking out my father, blocking out everybody, and saying, well, when I was young, you were not there for me, so now I'm going to do this evil while praising God. Come on, beloved. You know, what's that saying? God don't like ugly. So whenever somebody has not enabled you to live by the way they treated you and your expectations, even as you've gotten older, look at the other story. If they're willing to look at the other side of the story, if they're willing to listen to you, and they may or may not be, because sometimes it's just painful. Sometimes your mom and dad and people, they don't want to go back to the past. They know they messed up, but they know they messed up more than you do. They know that when they had a choice, they didn't make the right choice. They know that. Well, no one wants to try to go back and repair what has happened in the past, but what they want to do is allow me to love you as best I can moving ahead. I made some very poor decisions. I would never make those decisions now, but then I did. And it may seem like I've always known I should know better. I have not. And there are times I made some choices that I thought I knew better, but I didn't. You and I are on a journey, and you are never going to get it all right. So rethink and give the other person a break. Even though they don't deserve it, remember Christ gave you a break. and you didn't deserve it. You will never. And the rest of your life, that same thing is going to be happening. So while God has already framed you as one of his servants that he's going to save no matter what, then you and I have to take that on. So here's what I'm trying to say. Try your best to start looking at things based on Philippians 4. Whatsoever is true, whatsoever is noble, what's praiseworthy, what is pure. And add that person's name. Add your mama, add mother dear, or whoever, auntie, or whoever it is. Start there and say, was what I'm thinking about them true? Is it noble? Is it pure? And it's the peace that I'm missing that comes from God, not mine, because I'm living something that is not true, and I'm living something that is unforgiving, that's hard to deal with and harsh. So as you're approaching any holiday, it doesn't matter what it is, if you're approaching any situation, if you're on your job, if you're married, if you're dating somebody, I don't care what the relationship is, you can't always frame people the way you see it. It's really powerful for you to see life the way you see it, but so it is for them. Some people just want to be free. They want to be themselves. They want to be true to themselves. And it may mean that you can't walk with them, but you don't have to hate them, turn your back on them, block them. And there are some people you're going to have to block. But make sure, though, that particular if you are a Christian, that you have done everything you know you need to do at this point. You've got to forgive them. It's cleaning your clock, not theirs. And then you've got to seek some understanding. And sometimes you've done so much damage, the timing is not right. But you should always say to that person that you are estranged from, this is hard for me, and I don't even know where to start, but at some point in my life, I really want to reconcile with you. I don't want our lives to end this way. Beloved, sometimes we betrayed other people time after time after time, and we've been untrustworthy to ourselves and to others. And people have done the exact same thing to us. But if you're going to lighten the load so that you can have the peace of God that transcends all understanding, if you really want to be able to see people differently, model Christ Jesus in your family. If you want to be different, you've just got to accept the fact that you've got to rethink it. Rethink everybody. Learn from your past. Learn from the mistakes that you've made, because the other people may not have, but you model learning from them. And learn to let go of people. Some of your mother and other friends, they hung on to toxic people, deceitful people, and it cost them dearly. And they're broken. They may never again get on their feet because they believed in people who were harming them. They themselves were harmed, and then they harmed everybody else. So I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a psychologist. I'm just a pastor who's done a lot of learning, having been certified in substance abuse prevention. I've been in pastoring for over 40 years, and just my own journey from the mistakes and poor choices I've made, but also from the choices I've made that were good, that have enabled me now to be able to help others. I think I probably have said, that's always a lot more to say, but like I said, I don't want to sound like I got a PhD in psychiatry, but if you want to reframe it, what you believe is not all there is. Go back and search it. And whatever's true, noble, and peaceful, whatever's praiseworthy about a person, allow that to be a part of it. Almost everybody that you block out of your life, they got some great stuff, some good stuff, if you will allow it. And let that be a part of how you frame them. Blessings, beloved. It's not easy, but go ahead on and do it anyway. Michael L. Dublin Sr., a man on a journey who's now at South Central Church of Christ, but he was a father, husband, grandfather, great-grandfather, and a whole bunch of other things. God bless you, beloved. Live.